Hey there friends, Rebecca here, the Dragon Librarian from Farmington Community Library, and I'm here with Lala again today to talk to you about an amazing batch of books. It's another set of books that I have in my favorite of 2022 reads. This time is actually a category that I've never really done before. And the reason I've never done it before isn't because I haven't read any that were usually that good, and that this is the first year that I read good ones. That's not true. I've always read a lot of great books within this genre, but I just never really thought about dedicating an entire video or trying to narrow down the top 5 best ones. Well, last year in particular, there was it was just a really great year for this genre, I feel like, in my opinion, and I read so many fantastic ones, I just couldn't not share them with you today. So the genre I'm actually talking about is thrillers. So thriller / mystery. So I'm not talking about mysteries like cozy mysteries or parts of a series. I'm talking about ones that are tied in with thrillers and that you're trying to get to the bottom of what is going on with the story and you're just kept on the edge of your seat. I love books like that. I love thrillers, and they don't normally tend to end up in my top 5 favorite literary fiction books, and that's totally fine. There's a place for them, right? And that place is in this video right here, because I read so many great ones last year, I just couldn't not spend some time talking about them. And hopefully you guys will love some thrillers too. So last year was really awesome because 3 of my favorite thriller authors all came out with books. They're all 3 of them on this list, and it was just such an amazing year. In fact, 2 of them came out they were published within weeks of each other, so that was a really good summer for me because I was just so excited to be reading both of these, and then I got to do it back to back, which was amazing. So, what are the top 5 best thrillers that I read last year in 2022? Number 5. Things We Do in the Dark by Jennifer Hillier. Things We Do in the Dark. Now, this was a book that I was really excited to read because I had read a previous book by her called Jar of Hearts that I really, really loved. That was the first book I had read by her. I hadn't known about her or anything before, and when I read it, I really just totally fell in love with her writing style and the twists and turns that she had. So, when I saw that this was coming out and that it was the same book, or it was the same author as that book, I was like, all right, I'm going to give this a try, and I love this. I was riveted by this book. So basically, this is about a woman named Paris who is found, she has this high, this celebrity sort of status because her husband is this musician, and he is dead. He is found murdered in his bathroom. She is covered in blood. She's the one that found him. So, of course, she is now being questioned for his murder. But the fact that he's dead isn't the thing that is the most upsetting to her. She is afraid that because of the publicity of this case, her past is going to be revealed because she has this past. And 25 years ago, there was a similar situation, a similar murder, and a woman named Ruby was put away for that murder. Well, now Ruby is one of the only ones to know what the past is what the truth of the past is for Paris, and she's getting out. So Paris has to try to figure out what she is willing to do to try to keep her past a secret. And so, of course, obviously, most of this book is trying to figure out what this secret was, right? So we're going back and forth between the past and the present, where her story is unfolding in the past, and then also what is currently happening as well. I really, really like this book because of, primarily, a lot of why I love certain thrillers are because of the twists and how much they catch me by surprise. Well, just to let you know, I am the worst person ever to guess an ending for one of these. I have never been correct once. I try all the time. I always try, and I'm always like, oh man, I know exactly what's going on, and I'm always wrong. But I love the thrills. I love the feeling of just being caught off guard and being like, oh wow, that's really cool, and seeing how all these different threads come together. So, Things We Do in the Dark, very good one. So the next one, number 4, is actually one of the ones by one of the authors I was talking about. And the author I'm talking about is Simone St. James. I read her book, The Sundown Motel, a couple years ago and fell in love with it. Then I read The Broken Girls and some of her other past works, The Haunting of Maddie Clare. And just, she's got some really, really great books. So when she came out with one last year, I was just so excited. And it was so good, it made it onto my list. The Book of Cold Cases by Simone St. James. So the thing I really like about Simone St. James, and I found this to be the case in her previous works as well, is that you never really know if what is going on is a supernatural twist or just a regular twist. So there are things that happen in her books, particularly in this one, that are really freaky sometimes. And you're like, oh my gosh, what is going on here? And you really don't know until you get more towards the end what is going on. And if this was like, oh, is this a ghost or is this just a murderer? Like, you just never know. And oh my gosh, I love the story. So this is another one that's going back and forth between two different time periods. So it's set in Oregon. The story is around this cold case that what happened in the 70s, where this woman, her husband, was found dead, and she was tried for his murder but never convicted, and the killer was never caught. So she went free, and it's sort of been this cold case that's always been really popular. Well, flash forward to the current day, our main character Beth works as a receptionist during the day, but at night she runs a this podcast website sort of thing about cold cases, and she is beginning to research this one in particular because she lives in the area. Well, she runs into the woman who was convicted or who was tried for this murder. They strike up conversation and she agrees to be interviewed. So now it is Beth trying to listen to this woman and find out what happened back then, and also just trying to unravel what really happened that night. What was the woman falsely accused? Was she correctly accused and got away with it? What is going on with this cold case? And it was so good. Something about Simone St. James's writing is it just captivates me every time. She is an amazing author. Absolutely give this one a shot. This is a great one to start with. I think this is probably my favorite of her so far, but her previous works, they're all winners also. So if you want to read some of her backlisted titles as well, that would be cool. Okay. Number 3, The Lies I Tell. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, this is by Julia Clark. I guess really all the authors on this list, I made a mention of the 3 that are my favorite thriller authors, but these other 2 that I'm talking about, I also read before and really loved. So I guess this is a list of 5 thrillers written by 5 thriller authors that I absolutely love. So Julia Clark wrote The Last Flight, which came out a year or 2 ago, and that was really good. And what I liked about that one was that it was a thriller story, but also had a lot to do with women empowering women and women lifting themselves up and lifting each other up. And this book was 100% even more of that. So you had a really great story that was a thriller, and also just an amazing story, but also a story that was very empowering for women as well. So this is about a woman named Meg. Is her name really Meg, though? It could be Maggie, it could be Melody. Basically, this woman is a con artist, and she floats around the country taking people in by using her charms, and she reinvents herself every time. And when she gets to the end of it, she leaves these people with absolutely nothing. So, well, why is this important? Well, our other protagonist, Kat, had her life completely, I don't want to say destroyed, but it was definitely derailed a while back because of this woman. And now she is she is trying to track her down to bring her to justice. So she befriends her under the guise of, something completely different, and tries to get closer to her. But as they do start to get closer to each other and their friendship deepens, Kat has to really start to wonder and second guess her own motives and say, wait a minute, do I really want to bring this woman to justice? Does she have this other motive? Are her reasons actually really good for what she's doing? I can't get into too much else without spoiling any more of this, but if you read The Last Flight by Julia Clark, you will absolutely love this one as well. If you haven't read it, try this one and read it too, because it's really good. There's a lot of really great twists and turns in it that were just so fantastic. I love this one to pieces. And like I said, if you're looking for a thriller that is more than just a really great thrilling story, but also has a lot of really deep themes of women empowerment too, The Lies I Tell. All right, we're down to the very last 2. And now, these are 2 of my favorite thriller authors. These are the 2 books that were published within weeks of each other last summer. Best summer ever. It was so great reading them back to back. Book number 2 is The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. Oh, I love Riley Sager so much. His books are just so amazing. If you haven't read anything by him, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. This is definitely my favorite one so far. And this is another sort of author that does this really cool thing where you really never know if the twist is a supernatural twist, if the things that are going on are just by human nature or by supernatural nature. And that is the case with this book as well. It's another one where I tried to read it very, very slowly, and I couldn't because it was just too good to stop reading it. I tore through it. So this is about a actress named Casey who is recently widowed. She lost her beloved husband to a boating accident at their lake house. So she is now sort of self-exiled to this lake house because she developed a really bad drinking problem after that. And her mom, who is also an actress who she kind of followed in her footsteps, told her, you need to go, you're done work for a while, you need to go and just get cleaned up and sort yourself out at this lake house. So she goes to this lake house, she cons one of her neighbors into bringing her a bunch of alcohol, so she's still drinking. She is biding her time actually by spying on her neighbors. So there is a house across from the lake from where she's staying. So it's her house, the lake, and then a house across that's pretty far away, but she can still see what's going on with binoculars. And she witnesses this sort of violent altercation between a husband and wife. She actually had become friends with the wife earlier on because she rescues her. The woman is swimming in the lake. Casey rescues her because she has a cramp, and they become fast friends. Well, she witnesses some things. She's not sure what's going on. And then the wife that she befriended is suddenly missing. So she naturally suspects the husband, 100% thinks that it's him, and then starts really, really even more heavily spying on him to try to see if she can catch him and to save her friend. There are so many things going on in this book, and let me tell you, I 100% guarantee you will never guess the twists in this book. There are two big ones, not just one like usual. There are two huge twists, and I guarantee that you are not going to guess them. Maybe you will. Maybe you're just really, really good at guessing twists and you are much better than me. But they are so amazing. Oh gosh, it's so good. If you're looking for a book to just throw you completely, like you have no idea what's going on and you just can't wait to find out, read this one. The House Across the Lake. Oh my gosh, it's so good. I just can't stop talking about it. It's really good, especially if you love thrillers and you love twisty-turny thrill rides. This one by Riley Sager. But really all by Riley Sager. Everything he writes is amazing. All right, very last book. It was really hard to pick 1 and 2 and which one was going to be 1 and which one was going to be 2. But this one absolutely won by a hair's breadth. Ruth Ware, the It Girl. Yes, I love Ruth Ware. She's another one of my favorite thriller authors. Everything she writes is pure gold. This one in particular, I absolutely loved. It's a little bit longer than her usual books, which I thought was fantastic. I know a lot of reviews that I've read said that it was too long and there was a lot of backstory built up here, but I thought it was perfect. This story definitely needed a backstory. This is not the sort of thriller that you want to just tear through at 100 miles per hour. No, you need to sink into this one slowly and just absorb everything around you that's happening because everything is important. And if you're going to try to guess and see what is going on here, again, I don't think you will, but you might be able to guess because maybe you're much, 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 much better than I would be. But if you are, then yes, maybe. So, okay. This book is about a young woman named Hannah who is going to Oxford for the first time, Oxford University. And the first person she befriends who gets really close with her is another young woman named April. April is everything that Hannah is not. April is vivacious and just very outgoing and confident. And she really helps to bring Hannah out of her shell. So they form this really tight-knit group of friends, a couple other people in the group rather, really, really, really close group of friends. But by the end of their first year, April is dead. She's been murdered, and Hannah is the one who has named the killer. There was this creepy porter guy that kept like following her around and stuff, and she says, no, it's definitely him. He's been put away. Now fast forward to the future. So this is another book that goes back and forth between the past and future, which I really love that because I really love finding out what the story is in present time, but I also really like watching it unravel in the past too. So now we're also in present time. Hannah is married to Will, who is another one of the really close, in the close group of friends of everybody. And she has just found out that the guy who was put away has died. So he's had a heart attack in jail and he's died. And she is approached by a reporter who says, you know, I've been studying this case and I think you were wrong. I don't think he was the one that did it. And so, of course, immediately Hannah's like, stop, you're crazy. I absolutely know that he's the one that did it. But the more she starts to now revisit the past in her head, and the more she remembers what happened back in the day, she starts to become increasingly concerned that maybe there was more to this story than she knew, and maybe the person that was in jail for this murder was not supposed to be, and maybe it was somebody altogether. Maybe it was somebody even closer to her than she would have ever realized. So I would even label this book, it's definitely a thriller, but I would also probably maybe minorly put it into the dark academia genre, because it takes place at a school, there's a murder, and a really intense group of friends. This is another one where I was so certain I knew what was going on with this story. I got near the end, last 100 pages, and I was like, all right, I totally know who the murderer is. I know what's going on, and I was wrong. I was so dead wrong, it's not even funny. So I'm really curious to know if you are going to do the same thing as me, if you are going to be really good at guessing it, or if you're going to be really terrible like me. But yeah, I'm dying to know if you guessed the ending of this. But I really loved it. And like I said, I know it's a little bit longer than her normal books, and it's a little bit longer than a lot of thrillers. There is a lot of backstory, especially dealing with the past, with these friends and what they get up to, but that's all very important. Every word here matters. Every scene matters. And you have to really just pay attention to everything if you're going to try to figure out what is going on. So I highly recommend this. If you're going to only read one thriller this year and you haven't read anything by Ruth Ware, definitely try this one because it is amazing. The It Girl. Well, those are the top 5 best thrillers I read in 2022. Let me know what you think in the comments. Were there some that you thought I should put on this list that I didn't? I want to know what some of your favorites were. Were some of these your favorites? What did you like about them? What didn't you like? Let me know. I want to hear all about it. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and have a wonderful rest of the day.